Welcome to the Smoking Word. Welcome to the Smoking Word.
What's up, everybody? The Smokin' Word podcast is always brought to you by CasaDeRock.com. That's my merch store. You know the drill. Go there if you want to support the show. If international, go to CasaDeRock.eu, and my bro Theo will take care of you. So again, if you want to support the show, you could cop the merch at CasaDeRock.com US and CasaDeRock.eu for the rest of the universe. And like always, super shout out to my Patreon family. Again, Patreon's a way you could invest in the show. If you like what you hear and you got as low as $2, we got a couple of different tiers where we offer a lot of exclusive stuff. Patreon just got hit over the head with a couple new videos. So if you want to get the podcast first, if you want to get exclusive videos, or if you want to just support the show and have it keep going, patreon.com/the Smokin' Word. One more time, patreon.com/the Smokin' Word. We about to do some big things, so thank you for your support. We love you. Shout out to CC Delivery. You know what's up. Keeping my brain free. Third Coast family, you know what's up. Follow me on Instagram, Hoya Rock 357, the Smokin' Word podcast on Instagram. It's very, very important you all subscribe to the podcast and go right now to YouTube and subscribe to Smokin' Word TV. When you subscribe to the podcast, it helps us elevate our podcast and it puts us in the mix with everybody else's. So, Smokin' Word TV, Smokin' Word podcast, subscribe. And this week on the Smokin' Word, I wanted to take it to Brooklyn. So, I got my boy Mike and John, some of the rhythm section of Brooklyn's finest, Candiria. Let's set this off. Yo. You hear me? You hear me?
Yo.
Yeah, I see you and I hear you. What? Yeah. What's up, fellas?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good to see you, and even better to see you guys together, because even though it's not, in person, this is almost like semi in person. At least two of you guys are like next to each other.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, definitely, man.
No, I'm glad. We've been talking for a minute trying to line it up, and I'm in the middle of moving. So I usually have I'm really slow and really caveman. So I put up a board where I got to write everything. Right. I had to take everything down. So I've been so scatterbrained, and usually I keep everything in order. Right. So lining shit up with you, I've been wanting to get you guys for a minute. I made a list a long time ago when I first started doing it of, all right, these are people I got to get and that I want to get. And then some people come, get ran through the podcast mill. So then I put them on the back burner because I don't like regurgitating. I let it, I replant it, let it come up, and then I pop it off. But now I was glad. I seen you guys for some reason. I seen you working at stuff again, and I was like, okay, now it's time. Let me try to get them on. And you were telling me that you were able to get Mike. I was right. Even better. I was planning to do you guys. I wanted all you guys eventually, but I was gonna do you by yourself. And then I was like, you said again, Mike. I said even better. And then and this is my first time I think having two guys in the same room.
It's true, because you've had a bunch of different guests, but it's like everybody all chiming in on Zoom. So it's like looking like Brady Bunch style.
Yeah, exactly. But just a little bit more uglier most of the time. But but all right. Well, yeah, but good. But I'm glad to see you both. And it's funny because I got a lot of this history with both you guys. And there's some funny, some bugged out shit with, first of all, like I was just telling my boy with Mike. Let's start with Mike. I was like, I go, I'm glad to get him. Mike's gonna be on. I go, people don't know. I go, Mike was probably one of the first fill-ins that ever filled in for me.
Right.
And I said, and he did it at a real important time in my life. And I was like, you know, I'm glad that it was him because it made me look like, wow, they needed to get a killer to fill in. You know, even though I played, you know, one finger, two strings, they're like, oh, okay, they had to bring out the big guns. And with John, with you, it's pretty funny. So people don't know. We'll get into it in our past that we played when we were younger.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But now we'll get into that quick. But the funny story, real quickly, and then we'll tap in. Was I didn't know that was you for many years.
Really?
For many.
I got you. I could see that.
So
I was a
like,
quiet guy. I was quiet, you know.
Yeah. So okay, we'll start like that. We'll go a little bit backwards. Why I'm saying because this is why it's bugged out. You know. So all right. First, let everybody know. So we're talking about your first band, how we first met, you know.
Right.
With your first band. Let everybody know who your first band was, and then I'll kind of jump in where.
All right. My first band was called Close Call. I was in a band with Mike Scandato from Inhuman, and then some friends who kind of were around in the music scene for a while, but then they kind of dropped off. My friend Wayne, our mutual friend Wayne Schneiderman, and my friend Tommy and my friend Mark Nolan. That was pretty much the band. But yeah, we were doing our thing back in the late 80s, the very late 80s and I think the band lasted like 2 years, maybe. And then after that, I played in a band called Patterns with Les.
Yes.
And Mike and Wayne as well. Wayne played drums as well. So I don't know which.
Hold on one second. Mike, you were in Patterns from the beginning?
No, not from the beginning.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly how long Patterns was even around, but I was in Patterns, I want to say for like maybe the last year or so, maybe year and a half, maybe it was 2. Like I said, I can't recall exactly how.
All right. Because I don't remember you with them. I just remember one day we were kicking it, and it seemed you know, like
you and I first met when I was in Marauder already.
Okay, yeah, but Marauder
we first met
later on. Yeah, well, we'll tap in that. All right, yeah, because I was wondering. I didn't know that right now, but with the Patterns, so you were in. How long was Patterns around for? Because so everybody who's listening, Patterns was a band out of Brooklyn that was around for a second with in this crazy time in New York hardcore where there was a lot of what do you call it, borough bands.
There were. You're right. You're right, and it was a really strange time. I think we were around about, I would say probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years max.
Yeah.
I wish I could just text. Well, I probably could text Les, but I don't know if I get back from him. But I'd say that's about right. Because we made a couple of demos at Don Fury. That's all we did. There was the Edge of Insanity or Edge of Sanity or Enjoy the Sanity, something like that, right? The first demo, there was the white demo that would have called, I think, Les, so you did the cover, and then there was a couple different things. That's why it seemed like longer, because it seemed like you guys worked a lot. So basically, with my first band, Demise, the later end of those shows, we would play of our years. That's right.
We would always play the Crazy Country Club.
That's right.
Us, Marauder, Patterns,
the whole crew. That's right. Yep. Man.
It seemed like every week.
Great memories. Great memories.
You know, and this is the thing. So, you know, I remember, and this is what I said back then. This is why it's funny with you. I remember seeing you play, and you were quiet. You know, we would bullshit or whatever. Everybody would kind of hang on. I remember seeing, I said, he's too good for that band. I said that, I swear. And not that I thought Patterns wasn't good. I just said, this dude doesn't belong in hardcore. He's too good for hardcore. I was like, I remember being like, no, I remember being in, I was like, because I was already, again, it's funny how, and it's good with that. I got both of you guys, because both of you guys are shredders. That's what you got. But you're from a shredder. You're shredders from a different era of shredding. It's from, you got more, not that you guys can't do this other shit, but the guitar work from the heaviness was more towards a thrash influence from that our era. Then now it's more maybe a death black metal influence first as their first metal influence, the newer generation.
Yeah. That's definitely true. That's definitely true for me. I was definitely more into the more metal sort of the crossover stuff like Leeway and Cro-Mags. You know, I was into the more. I definitely was into guitar players. So there was some guys in the scene that inspired me that I was really into.
Who are the guys in the scene, guitar guys? That you had to pick that you were like early on, you were like, oh, those guys are killers.
I would have to say Dr. No. I mean, right off the bat, he was definitely a huge influence. I mean, who was it? Mike from Leeway. He was just an incredible player. I always looked up to him, and even their sound. I mean, that band, just the production and the style and the tightness of that band was so much inspiration for me. And I mean, Paris, of course, was definitely an inspiration as a writer, as a player as well. But yeah, those are probably the top three. I was into all kinds of stuff, but mainly those were the bands in the hardcore scene that I really gravitated towards. Of course, all the bands, like Agnostic Front, Sick of It All, even the earlier stuff like Bold and Judge. I was into those bands, but I was really into guitar playing at that time.
Yeah, of course. I could tell that. Yeah, definitely. And Mike, you know each other from kids, or whether you guys meet?
Okay, the way we met was, and it's funny, it seems like so many different people's, first sort of shows in hardcore in particular were like at, YMCAs and things.
Well, that's our era. I hate to be that guy.
Yes,
exactly. Because especially you guys look young, and you guys say that I'm feeling older. But yeah, you're right. YMCA's, the garages, wherever the fuck we could play.
So there was a YMCA that
where the hell was that anyway?
It was in Flatbush. It was I believe it was on. It escapes me. Right, don't matter where it was. But anyway, so there was this big hardcore show out at this YMCA. John was playing in Patterns at the time, and I was in a different hardcore band called Rampage. Rampage, it was different than the Rampage that was, I think there was a Rampage, if I'm not mistaken, from the Bronx too, a couple of years later. But
it's a great name, Rampage. That's a good one, right?
This Rampage, I don't know if you remember a guy, what it called, a lot, it may not sound too PC, but everyone just referred to him as Black Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse Wilson. Okay.
I know nowadays you got to put a disclaimer.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to get my head chopped off for calling him Black Jesse.
When this mic comes off, you don't want no part of me. You guys know that already, but whatever.
So that was the band, and I guess I was probably 15, which would have made John about 17 or 16 or something like that. Yeah. And besides the fact that we're both in hardcore bands, we both like lots of different music too. I know you do, man. I listen to your podcast all the time. You grew up listening to a lot of different styles of music. Yeah. So the connection that we made was, I just started warming up because I know I was going to play a little bit. So I started playing the bass line to the song 3 Days by Jane's Addiction. So around 1990, 91, if you were a bass player, everybody was kind of, and you were trying to like expand your horizons.
Yeah.
Everybody was playing some like Jane's Addiction stuff or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
So I started playing the bass line, and from across the backstage, as I call it, is literally like where they stored like the seats and stuff.
The gym equipment.
The gym equipment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm playing the bass line, and from across the room, on cue, here comes the guitar line. And John starts interjecting it. So the two of us, we pick our heads up from what we're doing, and we see each other across this room playing the song, and we just start walking towards each other playing the song.
It's like a bromance.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say, it was like the meatball with the spaghetti and
yes, exactly. We just start up, like that.
Exactly.
And then we introduce ourselves to each other. We're like, oh, you like Jane's Addiction too? Oh, what band you in? Blah, blah, blah. And that's how it is.
Right.
And the thing that's so crazy is John and I now are entering our 32nd year of making music together. All from that one chance with a coexistence right there.
Crazy.
Thank you, Jane's Addiction, right?
There you go, yeah. We got two people to thank, Jane's Addiction and our old singer Les from Patterns, because I was just hanging out, running around the streets with Les, getting into trouble, and then his bass player left, and he's like, yo, you want to come join my band? I was like, yeah, sure.
Okay, now let me ask you this, Mike, but all right, now, before I ask Bebop, I'm gonna call you.
Yeah, that's it, right?
I know.
You must know me a long time.
I know. You understand? I had to throw you out of there. But
no, I don't mind it at all, man.
Why bass? Why bass and how bass?
All right.
You're a killer, but I say that. First of all of Candiria are murderers, and why I love it, because that's New York's like our Meshuggah. Not that even you guys sound like them, but you know how they, the technical killers from there. Well, this is ours.
Sure, I got you.
You guys are ours. That's what I always used to think about.
That's it. And Candiria could only come from New York City.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
it. No place else on the planet.
Sure. Yeah, and how bass? So how bass?
Okay, bass. Bass started out was in 1987. I was into metal. I was into metal.
Still, hey, that's wow. You've been playing.
I really know why, but okay. So 87, I'm into metal. I'm into thrash metal for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even 87. I don't even think I truly understood the difference between a guitar and a bass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through like some kind of Sears catalog, right, for around Christmas time, and I see this. What now I realized was a knockoff version of a Jackson Flying V like Randy Rhoads played, but it's like the Sears, has no name on the headstock. It's just some cheap thing. So I tell my mom, this is what I want for Christmas. And she thinks I'm crazy. She's like, but you don't play guitar. It's like, that's why I need this right here so I can learn how to play guitar. And so I buy the guitar. She gives me this guitar for Christmas. I play it for like 2 or 3 months and I realize this isn't what I wanted to play. I'm hearing something different. And I realized my friend tells me, goes, no, motherfucker, you want to play the bass. That's the bass that would go. I'm like, oh, that's what Frankie from Anthrax plays, the bass. Oh, Steve Harris is the bass. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. So summer of 1988, I save up enough money from working as a busboy in this Italian restaurant to walk into the music store, Maggio Music on 18th Avenue in Brooklyn. And I see my Area Pro 2 hanging on the wall. It's $189 or something like that. And I save up my cheddar from working as a busboy, and I bought my first bass. And for better or for worse, here I am.
And my first bass was a used Area Pro that I had to look in the used instrument section in the newspaper. Same thing, money I saved up, and I was like, it's black. And this dude uses one. That's the one. I always wanted a Fender P bass, but I was like, whoa, $500? That should seem like 5,000. I was like, get out of here.
That was not gonna happen. Yeah,
and in the early days, I would see even like the old pictures, the OGs, with the P bass, and I'm like, man, I want that. And then I was like, I ended up buying a knockoff early on, so I had a thing in my early demise that looked like a P bass, but it was like
it wasn't a P bass.
But it wasn't a P bass. Exactly, it wasn't. If I can, and you, Bebop, how guitar? Now let me. Your first style had to be something more than rock.
Well, honestly, what happened with me was I actually didn't. I was into metal at the time. I was into music growing up. Growing up in, how it is.
Yeah, Brooklyn. So Brooklyn has a lot of back then especially had a lot of like rock and metal.
Sure, exactly. So when I was growing up and I started getting into rock and metal and everything like that, at the same time, my dad was trying to like get me to do different things. He wanted me to get into baseball. I tried that, it didn't work. He wanted me to, think about being an artist. That didn't really work out too well. It did, but anyway, one day he decided I was going to play an instrument. This is his decision. My dad's like, listen, I thought about it. You're going to play an instrument. Pick one. And I go, I'll play the drums. He goes, nope. You're going to play the guitar. I was like, all right. So
thank God.
He brought home an acoustic guitar. He brought home this beautiful nylon string guitar that I still have. And he paid for lessons. He started paying for lessons. And I think me and my best friend, Tommy Trippy, who lived up the block from me, we both, I think somehow I got hooked up with his teacher. And that was it. And then I started playing. My first real true band was honestly a Black Sabbath cover band called Atomic Fear. And that was just me and Mike Scandato. That was it. We bug out about that because it was just me and him sitting there playing Black Sabbath songs.
So before your pops choosing the guitar, you didn't even think about playing an instrument?
No, I did not. I didn't.
He lucked. He did good.
A little foresight, right? I mean, think about it.
You call it what you want, like Nostradamus. There was also mad shit he fucked up. Your pops, that was one of the baseball, football, guitar. He hit one. He's
no, I'm glad. I'm so glad he did. I honestly, I still to this day, I'm so thankful he did. That's like the greatest gift he could ever give me, because I still just love music so much. I'm obsessed, you know. But I mean, for me, that was it, man. And to this day, I have never stopped. I never put it down once.
And am I crazy, or did you used to play with one of those little teardrop picks?
The teardrop? Yeah, I did, man. I had.
Man, listen, I'm gonna fucking break this right now. Weed only affects the short term, not the long term. I remember these things.
That's it. Yeah.
Because I want to say you were probably one of the first real shredders I met in real life, like in person. Like, wow, he could really play. Like, I knew guys that could play, but I was like, well, like, no.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
that guy could play.
Yeah, no, you 100% right, man. Because I remember the first time that I really got to see him play before I was in Patterns too was after we made that little chance encounter, as I said. But I was like, damn, this dude, he doesn't play like even the way the best guy plays that I'm friends with. You know what I mean? Like he plays like an adult.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
yeah, same.
Kids,
like when I saw you play then, this is why I didn't think rock or whatever. I said, oh, he must have played like oldies and that type of other guitar. Like I just felt like, because your style wasn't. There was more to it than, oh, he's just a good metal guitar. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that, man. I think maybe it's because I my dad, played music throughout, when I was a kid. I grew up on like Earth, Wind and Fire, a lot of soul, a lot of R&B. A lot of disco, a lot of freestyle, all different kinds of music. So maybe that was part of it.
Yeah. And then you guys link up after you had the spaghetti and meatballs, like playing to Jane's Addiction. But all right, then what happened? So you hook up, you start jamming. How does the connect with jamming together how does that happen?
Well, I came down to the first Patterns rehearsal, and we just sort of jumped right into the deep end. I was now the bass player of Patterns.
Oh, so you guys were you were jamming, you met, and then coincidentally you guys needed a bass player.
We're two different bands. Their bass player. It's almost like simultaneously all these things happen at the same time within like a month or two period.
Yeah,
I'm hanging out with Les every single day of the week. Their bass player, Greg, leaves.
Yep.
Rampage is sort of dwindling down. One of the guys, I think, went to school or something. We, whatever. And so I just slide right in there and we start doing Patterns for however long it was.
Yes.
And then the first thing that happened, I think, was that me, John, the show started getting a little bit few and far between. It was like a time too where there was a very big dry spell. Like we couldn't get on a matinee show, or actually no, you know what? It was when CB's wasn't even having.
Yeah, there wasn't many.
There was too much trouble. You know what I mean? Exactly. Too many friends.
And we weren't the only ones. You guys were involved.
That's what I'm saying. Too many friends of all of us were having too much fun being kids. He said no more matinees.
No mas.
Yeah, exactly. No mas. So then we decided, like me, John, and Wayne started. Wayne was the drummer. Wayne was also if John was the best guitar player and played like an adult, Wayne was the best drummer in our Brooklyn scene. He was in like a Rush fanatic, so he could play. Whether you loved his style or not, he could play.
Yeah.
So we decided we're just going to start writing some other material, expand our horizons a little bit. You know what I mean? I think a couple of us too. Remember when Warzone made that one record that was a little bit
experimental,
different?
Yeah.
We'll say, I mean?
Yeah, it was a lot different, but yeah.
So I think that everybody kind of felt like, well, we could start doing a little bit something different.
Hell yeah.
And so we did, and we started making, different songs. And at first, the other guys, Les and our rhythm guitar player, Jane Medina, were down. They were into it. But then I think that, I don't know, I guess maybe they just saw the writing on the wall and they saw like this connection between the three of us might have been a little bit stronger than as the 5 unit. And then they just sort of drifted away and, and Patterns ended and me, John, and Wayne decided to start doing this new in like 92 maybe, I think
you're
something
right.
Like that, maybe sometime in 92, something a little bit more rock oriented.
It was like grunge was getting big.
Songs. You guys wanted to write songs.
We wanted to write songs, exactly. And it was just more than anything, it was like we loved, I still loved hardcore and was always at hardcore shows, but there wasn't enough to sustain. It wasn't like even like 2-3 years later, it was like, yo, hardcore is back as far as maybe no one had a record deal or anything like that, but still there were shows and you could have a scene and, you know, and all that, you know?
Yeah, we started writing stuff. I mean, you know, we were into bands like Jane's Addiction and like, you know, Nine Inch Nails started doing something really cool. I think, was that their first record, the Nine Inch Nails record?
Had like 89, 90. Yeah, it was the first with
right. So there was all this different kind of music that was happening, and we were, you know, we were interested in that. And so we just started writing songs. And then, like Mike said, me, him, and Wayne kind of really formed this kind of like unit within that unit. And eventually we just broke away and did our own thing. And the band was called Dead Air. And we did our thing for a good 4 years or so.
Damn,
it was about 4 years. It was about 4 years, you know?
Right.
So that's a long run. So you start doing that. You guys are playing. So you two were probably continuously on the same wave as far as where you wanted where your next where you wanted to take your music to next, or like what was the next?
I would say that's true. Yeah, definitely so.
There actually was a time when me and you weren't playing together. Actually, that's whenever, you know, things started slowing down for Dead Air years later, and then Mike got an offer to jump on the road with Marauder.
Yeah.
That's when you did the Marauder thing.
Time, which didn't last very long.
Yeah, it was like maybe maybe 1 year. I think it was 1997. That was it. It was Dead Air was still going down. Marauder had just gotten their deal to put
That's what it was, because you were busy with them. It seemed longer because you were busy with them. That's what it was.
Right. So Rick, what it was Rick Lopez, Marauder's bass player. He had gotten a job because it was still a time where nobody knew if this could be some kind of career or anything like that. You still had to have a job, you know? So Rick had a good street. I forget exactly what it is. He was working like
elevators.
Yeah, Water Street. It was like elevator
guy. Shout out to Rick Lopez. I haven't talked to Rick Lopez 20 years or something.
Yeah. So there you go. You got a good memory like me, man. So Rick, you know, and Saab came was like, yo, do you think you could jump on this tour? Right? And I'm like, you know what? I would love to do this. It was going to Europe for about like 6 weeks, headlining Marauder tour. It was going to be good. So I was like, it's going to be dope. You know, I was like, yes, bet. Absolutely. I'm down to do this. So I went ahead and I did it. All this time I'm thinking to myself, well, this is just going to be fun. This is going to be like sort of like, you know, my introduction to the game, so to speak. Little rock star kind of sleepaway camp in Europe for 6 weeks.
Get your real shit. Go away. Overseas. That was your first overseas tour, right?
Yeah, first overseas tours, my first tour period, first time anything, you know what I mean? I don't even know if I had played, maybe I had played like in Connecticut or New Jersey besides that, but that's it. And I figured, okay, well, I'm going to go and Rick's going to come back into the band. So I'm just going to take what I learned here back to Dead Air and try and make something pop off a little bit more from that. Little do we know that like 2 weeks into the tour, Rick calls up Vinny and it's like, yo, I think that this job that I have right now is just a little too good. See if Mikey wants the gig.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of
then you
what
ended
happened
up
right there. You know, we came home and there was some, there was some other, like, you know, extenuating sort of life circumstances and with the band. So I came home from that tour in around Christmas time of 96. We got back into Dead Air, but shortly into Dead Air, like January of 97, I left the band. The band started fizzling out. That's when we were already friends. With Candiria. We were already friends with the guys in Candiria.
Okay. So hold on. So all right, stop right there and remember that, because I didn't know that. I didn't know I heard of Candiria a while ago. I thought you guys were in from jump. From the early.
No,
but all right. So Bebop, you when the first band, when he went with Marauder, where were you?
I was still doing Dead Air for a bit, but what happened was I got into a really bad car accident.
Yeah.
And was that late 95 or 96? Do you remember?
96.
He remembers my memories. Right? In 96.
It's the, you know, I'm just saying. I don't know nothing, but anyway.
It's the vitamin THC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in 96 on Christmas, I actually got in a really, really bad wreck with my ex-girlfriend at the time. I had like a surgery. So it was at a moment where Mike had left. Dead Air was sort of not doing that great anyway, and Mike went to go do the Marauder thing, and it just gave me time to kind of think. And then at the same time, I got a call from Carly right around January or so, and he's like, yo, son, I need a guitar player. You want to join my band? And I was like, at the time I was thinking about quitting music, and I spoke to my dad, and my dad was like, listen, you stick to it. You gotta, you're working hard, you stay with it, something will happen. And like literally a week later, that's when Carly called
Shout
me.
out to your pops, man.
Hell yeah.
Tell him to pick me. If he's still on this earth, tell him to give me some lotto numbers. I think he might be like, so now you just schooled me on some shit that I didn't know. So all right, Carly calls you. All right. Yeah. So you guys knew them. I thought you guys were in with the early version of this, because I'll tell you real quick. Where I first heard of Candiria was through Beto. Beto, a long time ago, he's like, yo, he goes, you gotta check out this new death metal, black metal band, whatever you guys were, whatever the metal was considered at the time, whatever. But he was like, yo, they're dope. He goes, yo, they got this black kid, he sings hard, but yo, he got like swag. Beto said swag before we didn't say swag, but said, he knew he was like, but I remember him being amped about it. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, Candiria had a show at this one place that it was on right off of Broadway. It was downstairs, and they would have some shows, man. I'm going to remember the name in a minute. Yeah, I think that was it. It was downstairs, and you guys, and they had a show, and I went with Beto because Beto loved it. Yeah. But then, all right, I didn't really put together who was in the band, and then later on, boom, we're playing with Candiria, and it's with you guys. Yeah, so I didn't put it together. So what happened? Carly calls you up.
Carly calls me up, and he says, Chris Puma, the original guitar player, left, and he asked me to join, and I jumped right into it with them, and I started hitting the road. And this is at a time when we didn't have a bass player. We did an entire year without a bass player. Yeah. And then I forget what was happening with Mike, but at the time, but I was doing all this stuff with Candiria, and now Candiria was, once that band started like really doing their thing, everyone in New York was talking about this band, and it was just like every musician, everyone who was going to shows, everyone was talking about this band, and I was really honored, kind of really, that they asked me to join. But our connection with them came a little bit earlier because Dead Air, we rehearsed in the same space, Dead Air and Candiria. So we would jam together, we would hang together, then we started playing shows together, and they were weird shows, back at that time, as you know, they were mixed bills. Mixed bills happen all the time. Yep. We would do shows with like Crisis, Dead Air, Candiria. It was all a mixed bill. So we did have that friendship, and that's why I guess I got the call from Ken, because he knew that I could hold my own, and they gave me the shot, and I jumped right on the road with them, and we did stints throughout the year, and then it was a very obvious thing. Mike hit me up. I remember this phone call. Mike hit me up. He's like, "Yo, you're playing in Candiria?"
Yeah, they were straight up. They were one of my favorite bands. They were my friends, but they were also because they were pushing. They were just doing something different.
They were pushing
it. They were really cool.
So that's what I was gonna say. Early Candiria, was it pushing it like you guys pushed it with you guys, as far as being crazy and technical and just they were already touching into that.
They were already, but they were definitely like a weird death metal band. That's why I'm not surprised that Beto was definitely the one who tipped you off, because Beto loved death metal. He's one of the first people from the hardcore scene that I knew that was
absolutely he loved it, and I remember that. Now I use you guys Candiria a lot, and when I got a lot of theories on not just hardcore but music, but especially in hardcore, that I use different timelines and associations with things. Now, please tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the way I took what Candiria was, and from my looking out at you guys, I was like, this is the difference between the hardcore scene and the metal scene. And I'm a metal guy. I love metal. Don't get me wrong. We're those hardcore motherfuckers, but I love that metal shit. I started bringing that shit into Madball. Yeah, you know what I mean? I love it. But I was like, those guys, Candiria, even all the times I remember Candiria, no matter sonically, didn't have to sound like Minor Threat. The attitude always was a hardcore attitude. The delivery, you could tell from the way you guys acted, how, we all come from that type of world. Despite what the dish is. You know what I mean? We all came from the same cooking school. You know what I mean? But I took it this. I say, you see Candiria, I go, man, in a hardcore music, punk rock, whatever you want to call it nowadays, I say we have more grades meaning like you could go from the garage to the storefront to the bar to the whatever. In metal, it seems to be battle of the bands, or you got to wait to get booked for the big national act.
100%. Yeah,
and
exactly.
I said,
battle of the bands or Lamore.
Lamore, exactly. And I said, now Candiria would be in that, but they wanted to play. They have their ties to the underground. And I said, that's why they were accepted by the hardcore band, by the hardcore scene, because not only were they hardcore people, but that attitude, and they had somewhere to play.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and I was like, am I right or wrong that there's more of the high school level for bands and hardcore, like the way to work your tears up than in metal or whatever?
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, totally. Like you say, it's like these little jumps as opposed to just boom.
Boom,
You know what I mean? Like that.
I think that also has to do with those guys in the band, even in the earlier days before me and Mike were part of it. They too came up in that time that Mike was talking about, where things kind of were weird. You know what I mean? It was a weird time. Shows were not like, it was like there was a little bit of like, I don't know, the music scene, the underground music scene, although there was a lot of musicians, there just wasn't like that institution that you have now, you know?
True.
In a sense.
It's true. It seemed like, there were shows where they were put together, but it didn't feel like they meshed together. They were put together, then everybody went back. Yeah, it was a weird time.
It was a strange time.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about why, and it's crazy still how Candiria went in and it became like, like the couch.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like the band was just happening.
It's not like weird to be like, if you mention New York hardcore and you mention Candiria, it doesn't seem out of place. If you mention metal or whatever and you say Candiria, it doesn't seem out of place. That's that's an accomplishment you guys could put under your belt. That I don't think could be planned. Like you couldn't plan to do that. It's a hard thing to do.
No, I agree. I mean, there's not many bands, I guess, because we sort of, we didn't fit anywhere, so we fit anywhere kind of thing, if that makes any sense. I mean, we played shows with Agnostic Front. We played shows with Bad Brains. We played shows with
Neurosis and
with Neurosis, and then Clutch. But and then also, even though probably the weirdest thing was later in our days, once we got established, we were on the tour with Drowning Pool. You remember them?
Yeah,
right?
Of course. It was great.
Kind of like a weird sort of thing where it was just like, I think that's it. I think that is just where people, you can either look at something and say, all right, this may not be what I'm used to, but I see something real. This isn't contrived. So it may not fit into the box that I'm thinking right now, but I'm going to give this a chance. I think that's why we got accepted so much from the Clutch crowd, because they're just like, yo, these guys jam.
Yeah, because they
like
jam.
Real dudes, you know what I mean?
For sure. So, you know what it is also for a more metallic band, you guys got that jam thing to it that those type of bands don't have a jam thing, because they can't play like that. To jam, you got to be, even a jamming out, even if it ain't freestyle, to be able to have a good jam session means you're able to freestyle if needed. A lot of those guys are great and technical, but they don't got that thing to just rock out and let's play off each other, like, oh, go into this now by a head movement, or like, oh, I'm gonna do this. All right, you know how it is when you're playing live and you hit those special pockets that you only hit when you guys are vibing. It's crazy. And what was you guys did Europe to Candiria, right? You guys never did Europe.
We did some, but not a lot.
Not a lot.
It's funny because Candiria, for all of the mileage that we had, we did not really get a lot of different things that a lot of other bands sort of got. That seemed just circumstance, opportunity. Like, remember with the very, very first time we were supposed to go to Europe, the first time we were supposed to go to Europe
that's right.
was with Marauder. And I was going to do double duty, playing bass for Candiria and for Marauder. For whatever reason, that ended up not happening. Then the next time we go, that we actually get to go to Europe, we're going to Europe with the Dillinger Escape Plan.
Wow.
2 or 3 days into the tour, the whole tour gets canceled. We got to come home. Next time, that's in 2000. Next time we're supposed to go to Europe, it's going to be, yes, finally, Candiria gets to play all of Europe proper. What happens? 9/11.
Yeah.
And that gets canceled. We can't go out to Europe again. So it's just like one thing after another. Yeah. And then, so that's 2001. And then what's the next thing that throws a little bit of sort of, monkey wrench into things? 1 year later from 9/11, Candiria gets whacked up by a semi-truck. Yeah. We're off the road for a year. Yeah. So it's just one thing after another that is like, very, very strange, very, very strange sort of, series of circumstances where a band that had so much sort of hype and so much kind of momentum, one thing or another just prevented us from being able to, completely dot the I and cross the T, so to speak.
Yeah. So did you ever make it to fucking Europe?
We did. 2003, we went to the year after that. We went and made Fury Fest.
Okay.
Which is now, I guess it's the same guy.
It's Hellfest.
It's Hellfest, yeah. But so I guess to answer your question too, as far as Candiria never did a proper European tour.
We did some dates.
We did dates.
Dates, just separate dates. Wow,
you know what
that's
I mean?
crazy.
But not like I mean.
Yeah, proper tour.
You guys. Yeah. You probably Madball was probably to me like the very, very first hardcore band that I was. I considered my sort of peers. It's not those are the older brothers.
No, you are, of course.
Beyond there.
Of course.
You guys were the first ones. I remember I was working in the Roadrunner mailroom, and I was like, "Yo, these guys! Not only they got signed, they're in Europe. They're gonna play Dynamo."
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "This is."
First of all, that's dope that you worked at the Roadrunner mailroom. That's also a thing that you'll never hear stories about that era again. Ever.
Yeah, that was great, dude. That just like the other, I remember what it called on the last podcast you did with Brian Fair. You guys were talking about the ice cream shop up in Massachusetts that employed the hardcore scene. Well, straight up the Roadrunner mail.
Hell yeah,
the hardcore.
Everybody, if it was in effect, then Roadrunner had everybody
packing CDs, whether it was Madball or Suffocation or
exactly.
Or that,
That's where I learned all my metal shit was. Like, I was already into metal, but when I got signed to Roadrunner and we were able to go there and just take whatever we want, that's where I discovered X-Order. I discovered Machine Head. Like, I remember Willie being he goes, listen to this shit. I never forget it. And it was the Machine Head. Before it just dropped, we had a copy, and I remember looked at him. I go, man, we gotta we gotta step our game up. Like, whoa, like, I'm like, all right, we ain't a metal band, but I always took from the metal bands, the big production, big guitars. I said, because people, I know how, I played a lot of festivals. I was lucky to play a lot with, the big dogs, the big OG metal. And I was always like, they know what's up with hardcore, but I was like, I also want them to know that we know what's up sonically. Like, not all of us play like shit. And not all of us sound like shit. Yeah. And I want to let you know how gorillas could make that shit sound like a machine. But I got that from the metal guys. Like, man, sound, guitar tones, like paying attention to a tone, not just put it on 10. Right. Tones and what does it do? Okay, my bass sound. I'm gonna EQ my bass sound according to the guitar. So this is later on, but I learned that paying attention to the metal guys. Then I said, now I'm gonna hit you over the head with your own weapon,
Absolutely. That's it. That's what made Madball sound like a professional band when the rest of us were kind of like making demos.
You know what? Because again, because guys like Matty Henderson, and Willie, these guys were seasoned. Not only that, also really, and they learned the craft, in not just in school, but have the thing like you, very well-rounded. They paid attention to the game. And I learned everything from Matty Henderson. Like, my ear, I had zero ear. I had chops, but I wasn't aware of my surroundings. Matty made me aware of, look, you got riffs, dude. You it's dope. Now, pay attention to everything around you so everything fits smooth, so you don't just gotta basically bang it in. Right. I would just hammer shit in when he's like, yo, file this or file that, let it sit in. And I'm like, wow. And
no, that's definitely a more mature, seasoned sort of musician way of looking at it, right? Because in the beginning, hardcore is everything is louder than the next thing.
Yeah.
Everything's on 10. But Matty had the foresight, I guess, to understand how everybody needs to carve out sonic territory.
Yeah.
So you sound that much bigger. And you're not stepping on what this guy's doing and making it sound weaker than it could, because you're not,
now let me ask you this for your band specifically, because you're in a band full of killers. Even though all you motherfuckers understand the theory, what we're just talking about, volume or whatever, was there ever a time somebody in the band, there's always somebody who probably wants to be a little bit more, not in an ego, but like, yo, I should be a little louder, or like, I need the drums got to be a little louder, or like, you know what I mean? Like, my section's a little more, needs to be a little bit more, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I would say honestly, if there was anyone in the band that kind of felt that way, it was probably me.
Okay. No, because there's always one, and it ain't a bad or good. It's just, it's like that. You got the one guy who's like, yo, I'm cool with being here. And the other guy's like, no.
That guy's like turning up just a little bit.
Yeah, get to me.
We were competing with Ken, really.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. All right.
If there was any one person who was the loudest, it was by far, it was Ken.
Yeah. You're never gonna help that. That
motherfucker. To hit the drums, when he hit the drums, it was nuts, man. It was really nuts. When he would sound check the snare,
ridiculous.
I could feel it in my teeth. I could feel my cavities loosening or something. Like I was just like,
what a guy to play with.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
Absolute blessing that we were able to get to play with that guy for as long as we did.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, man, I honestly do feel like it doesn't matter how good you are. When you play with a guy like that, everyone else looks at you and they're like, he must be good. You know what I mean? So,
not true.
I mean, you gotta be a certain level to hang with him, but he will make you look, that's how good he is. He will make everyone around him look like they they look at you like, holy shit, you play with him,
No, that's what I said. I remember early on, always, and that's Rick Ross. That's his guy. Riggs is always like, no, but everybody's like, in every way, you look at him, you're like, oh, you put him in any band.
Right.
You could put this dude in any band. Like, he almost belongs like by himself. I almost don't think he needs a band. Like, he just needs sounds so he could play drums.
No, he could. He definitely could,
Yeah, I mean, I know this for certain that Ken has written on his own, thousands of songs on his own.
I hate you guys. I hate all you guys. Why? You guys use too many strings, too many notes. You guys are too on time. And
Ken was, when he was a younger guy and he got into music, he was from what I know, I will just say, like, he was obsessed. He recorded music obsessively, and it turned him in, he became this incredibly knowledgeable musician who inspired so many people, as you know. And for us to be able to play with him was a real like treat. It was
and that's perfect. It was like you guys found each other, because all you guys, you guys being in certain other bands just don't make sense. Not that you couldn't play it, but you couldn't come off how you guys would want to come off. Yeah. And when you guys, so you both joined at the same time?
No, John was just about a year.
Right. Yeah.
John spent, I think, the majority of 97 in Candiria. The majority of 97, I was still in Marauder.
Right.
And then Marauder went on hiatus. It escapes me exactly right now, even the reason. There was some lineup changes, Vinny, the original drummer, left, and we got Joe Darkside playing drums. Anthony, the original guitar player, left, and we had Beto playing drums.
I forgot about that.
Playing guitar.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
In there, and then it started slowing down a little bit. So Candiria, John, and the guys in Candiria, it's not like they didn't want to have a bass player. It's just they didn't want to just pick anybody just to have a body filling space. They were like, well, we can just do this on our own.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it was when the opportunity came about, that was it. So I joined in 98. John joined in 97. And you know what it was too? I think it was that just by the time I joined, and within the first 6 months to a year of me being in the band, is when the band started really playing a lot. I think that's why people thought, like, if this was your first inclination, like, oh, look, who are these guys? That's it. only a few amount of people knew, well, no, this band has actually been around for like 3 years already doing their thing. And it's just now in 98, we're more visible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We wound up getting picked up by Bay Ridge Talent. And that really, things really started picking up around that time. So.
Yeah, no, and because I heard of you guys for a while, and I didn't put it together till we played shows. So to me, it just seemed like, oh, that's you guys and whatever. And that's the shit I was saying with you. I didn't. So all right, patterns. Those days go, and everybody goes where they go.
Right, of course.
I don't see nothing.
Right.
We've had shows with Candiria. I've seen you. I've seen you motherfuckers. Even when we were talking with some of this shit, and I don't know what came up. Oh, I think I heard you on a podcast or something.
Okay.
It had to be something, but something where it came up, and I heard you. I go, wait a minute. Is that fucking Beam? I go, because I would look. I go, is that Beam Up? No. I said, come on. Look, I'm getting a goose pimples because I'm bugging myself out. I go, that's fucking him. All this time, I played shows with him, and I never brought up those days because, again, number one, as much as we played a bunch of those shows together, it was before cell phones, before a lot of this. There's barely even pictures of that. And my first band, I played 15 shows, and probably 5 of them were there. So it sticks out in my head a lot. And even things with you, like I remember like with the pick maybe, and with you being the player, because I remember being like, wow, I was starting to get more into playing, and being around good players was a dime a dozen unless you were already in a big band, and we didn't know, we were all the younger guys, you know what I mean? Yeah. So certain things I remember, and not till late I put it together. It was you. I said, yo, I used to fucking play with him with my first band. Every other fucking weekend at fucking Crazy Country Club or wherever.
Man. But you know what? The thing is, I don't remember those times myself, man. Like, it's not like I came up to you and I was like, yo, you remember those days back?
Yeah.
Like, it just, like you said, man, I mean, it was a long time ago. There's a lot of time in between. And then we wound up on stage together, sharing a stage. And it was just like, it's like another life. But it's great. It's great to think back about all the history we do have.
Yeah, because I remember that. I remember because you were Brooklyn more Guido.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. You were Brooklyn Guido. And I remember being like, man, he's too good for a hardcore band. Yeah. I was like, fuck that guy. And Mike, obviously, like I said in the beginning, you filled in for me. Which thank you always, what's up.
That was a great thing, man. I as I said, would have called in the past. The only thing that was bad about it is that you weren't there.
Yeah,
if you were there, then I would have been
chilling. Yeah. Somehow we could have made it work. What did you do? Was it you did a couple little runs, right? You did a couple.
No, just one. It was, I believe. Let me think for a minute. In Paul. Paul had contacted me because I think he maybe did a fill-in for you once or something like that.
It was you and him only, and I wanted to just keep it like that because I said, I only need it's either him or Steve Harris. So the only guys that can kind of take me otherwise, but no, it's
so Paul contacts me. He's like, look, man, Hoya, I think maybe you had to have. I think he had eye surgery.
Yeah.
What it was. So he contacts me. He said, would you ever do this? Because I can't. And I was like, yo, that would be so much fun. Yeah, heck yeah, dude. Just hook me up. He comes over to my house. He brings me a CD. These are all the songs that you'll need to learn. So I learned them. Mitz came by my house too. And we went over things and whatnot. But it was only one tour. And it was a big one. It was Madball opening for
As I Lay Dying. Yeah, that's what
those dudes were really big at the time, right? It was before they had their whole drama, later on. It was like the original sort of lineup. But it was a big metal tour. Norma Jean, A Life Once Lost, I think.
Wow.
I could be wrong about A Life Once Lost.
It was a good one. It was a big metal tour. Big
rooms, you know what I mean, and all that stuff like that. And it was dope. It was really great. I loved the fact too that Madball operated this tight, very concise unit. It was the 4 band members. Your tour manager at the time was a guy named Gabe. And that was it. In the van roll, Mitch was like, yo, you don't have to do anything but play. You use all of Hoya's gear. I was like, word, absolutely. I don't gotta bring nothing. Everything's there, done. let's go. You know what I mean?
No, that's dope. I love that.
Oh, it's dope. It was definitely dope. It was,
That's great. That feeling when you don't got to do shit. I remember.
I remember Mitz all day. He's like, look, we can't afford full-on text, but I hired As I Lay Dying's people to do our post-show stuff. He's like, so you and me and Rig, we hook up all the gear. We do our show. As soon as that show is done, that last minute, man, he goes, Mike, you hand your bass to so-and-so, and it's Miller time, and you don't got to do nothing for the rest of the night but have a good time. And that was what it was. And you know what I mean? It was a great time. It was a great time.
I remember doing our first like real U.S. tour was a Downset, a Doggy Dog, you know, a Madball, and we're like, so they're like, Maddie goes, yo, we got text. We're gonna, you know, we're splitting text with Doggy Dog. So we got text. I go, oh shit, we got a text. And I remember, I go, word. And I look at Maddie and go, so I remember this perfectly. What exactly does the tech do? Like, wait a minute. Like, is he just gonna carry the amp? They go, no, he carries it. And I go, and Maddie's like, no, he tunes the guitar. I go, wait. And he's gonna tune my bass? So you mean I just go there, I hands it to me and I play? I'm like, come on, are you sure?
Are you sure?
Like, I was like, this ain't real. Like, get the fuck out of here.
It's true. I still don't believe it's true. It's real because the only tour I ever had a tech on was the one that I filled in for you. That's the only one I ever had a tech.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It never happened.
Guitar tech or bass tech.
It never really happened. And fucking And what's up with the other guys? Eventually, I want to get Carly on too. I want to get him on for sure.
Oh, that'd be,
you know, yeah. Oh, sure. Why?
You better put some extra time. I'm gonna I'll make it an extra long one because you guys are gonna be just rolling laughter.
Oh yeah.
He's just one of the most funny, ridiculous people. When the three of us still to this day, if he were to walk in the room, it would be like it was 1998, 1999, and all we're doing is laughing and making jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's great.
No, that's the best shit. No, but especially with you guys as a band, it's a cool and interesting band, and where you guys fell in place in the history of the hardcore scene. Which is it just bugged out to me, but that's the part I love about it. Like I said, where it seems so natural when it shouldn't be, but it you know it is because it is natural.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely was. You know, different than I mean, I think like the older generation too remembers a time when there was more like shows that had hardcore and punk bands, but when hardcore was hardcore punk, not what it evolved into more of the hardcore metal sort of scene. I think that
for sure.
I guess like maybe at some point people just started getting a little bit sort of gatekeeper-ish. You know what I mean? And it was you had to be one thing or another, and if you weren't, if you didn't fit the mold, then you were some kind of sellout, or you were a poser, or they're punk. We can't hang out with them.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, all right, well, what happened to all of us against the world? Now we're not together. You know. Yeah. But it is what it is. You know, everything comes in sort of waves and cycles and everything.
Also, there was also that, I mean, you know, for us, it was, Ralphie Boy was booking shows.
Yes.
And we would play with Disassociate. And they were like crust punk, whatever, you know, I guess you just call them crust punk.
Yeah,
doomy, whatever.
That's what it was.
You know, so they were already different, but they loved all kinds of music. They love they
would be Candiria if they knew how to play.
Ralphie would love that. But so they would book Candiria with Dissociate, Crisis. We would play with all different kinds of bands. So I think that also played a role in it. It was who was booking the venues. Yeah. You know, Ralphie booked CDs, so we would play there all the time. It was just a really vibrant scene back then because you did have mixed bills. But then here's a great example of the tour the Madball tour that Mike did. That was a mixed bill too. You know, Madball was technically the odd band on the bill.
Absolutely.
I personally love when I love being the odd sort of artist on the bill.
It's the
who
best.
Wants to see four death? I mean, somebody obviously wants to, but I don't want to see four death metal bands or four this kind of band or four. You know, something you want to have a little bit of variation just to mix it up and keep it flavorful. So that you can appreciate the next guy because the previous thing you just saw wasn't doing something like that.
Exactly. You know what it is with certain bands, especially like with you guys and with us, they associate a specific sound and a style. They assume that that's all that's the hole they want to fit you in. Like Yeah, Madball, we're those hardcore dudes. Yeah, we're flying the flag, but I want to play with Machine Head. I want to play with whoever the fuck else. We did Korn Limp Bizkit tour.
Yeah,
You know, we always played and always will play with anybody and everybody who shows us love. Because there's a lot of people in our own world that showed us no love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot. This is the thing I try to tell people out there. Like, I say this with my chest out, you know, like a band like Limp used to be the hardcores on the tip of every hardcore kid's joke. You know, a Limp Bizkit. But guess what? Let me tell everybody out there, if you haven't heard, that a lot of these OG hardcore bands never took Madball nowhere. That's number one. We were on a record label that was the biggest record label at the time for metal, and all these metal guys, which I loved us, wanted Freddie on records and wanted on stage. Ask how many tours they did with Madball. Zero. Nobody took us on tour. Fred Durst, my boy was working with him. You know, he never claimed to be a hardcore guy, but he liked some AF, some punk. My boy goes, yo, you ever heard his brother's band? Heard the Madball shit? He goes, yo, that shit is cool. You think they'd be down to play? Met Freddie. He goes, you think they're down to do a little run with us? 2 weeks later, we're doing an arena tour. Madball, Limp Bizkit, Korn.
Incredible.
So everybody could talk shit all they want. They always get mad love from me because Madball wasn't selling one ticket on that tour.
Yes.
You understand? They didn't do it for. They don't need hardcore cred because they don't give a fuck about the hardcore scene because they don't need to because it ain't about that. What it is, they showed love to their homeboy. They liked what they heard, and boom, a lot of people talk it but don't walk it.
Right.
So you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I know. Absolutely. It's true. Like you said, he didn't need to bring you guys out there.
You know,
that was all love.
I got to play. Yeah,
we played the first time that we went out for Hellfest too.
Yeah,
the guy who brought us out there, he didn't need to bring us out there. It was just he was a huge fan. He did the right thing. You know,
he
what I mean?
wanted to hear it.
To see us, man. We had just gotten smacked up with a call in an accident.
Yeah,
you know, he was like, "Oh my God, I almost didn't get the chance to ever
I want you
this band play." Now that you survived this accident, please come.
I want you. Hell yeah.
Happen. And it was
absolutely.
Best, I think John would agree. One of the best experiences we ever had. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and that was dope. And now like you guys are rehearsing today, right?
Yeah. We are rehearsing.
Are you jamming?
Not for Candiria.
That's what I was gonna ask. I had a feeling it was for something else, right?
Yeah. Right. I started writing songs through the pandemic, and for a while I had this other project called Spilacopa that I've had for many years alongside Candiria. It was always my side project, and you know, Mike always used to jump on tracks here and there, and like you know, I had all like Ken would be a part of it. All different kinds of people would you know, jump on songs and stuff. But in the last year or so, I wound up getting picked up by Chris Enriquez from Spotlights. You know Chris.
Yeah.
Shout
out to Chris. Hell yeah, definitely.
Chris is great people, and he started managing me.
Dope.
So, but you know, and I was writing music to put it out under the Spilacopa name, and Mike was already down. We were already rehearsing and gearing up to play some shows, and then the idea came up to rebrand, sort of, and put that old name to rest because I'd used it for so long, and I had other musicians involved like Greg Pucciato from the Dillinger Escape Plan. And crazy. Like, you know, Julie Christmas from Made Out of Babies, and like, you know, this dude, Jeff Rashid. So there were all these names connected to it. And no matter what I did, even though I haven't worked with these people for so long, anytime anyone mentioned my name, you know, these people's names would come up. And it's not a terrible thing, but I just kind of like, I was kind of over that. I was like kind of over of being associated with this thing that once was, you know, however many years ago. So, you know, I started just using my own name, LaMacchia.
Yeah.
And so for some reason that got people excited. I wound up getting picked up by Aqualam Records, great people, and things are starting to, you know, things are happening, and it's like really a great experience so far.
And what's the stuff like? What it's guitar work stuff, singing,
songs, really more like songwriting stuff.
You're singing.
Yeah, I'm singing. I have a female vocalist in the band right now doing live stuff. Her name's Andrea Horn. She's a really great songwriter and a singer. Mike, of course, is incredible. Always holding it down. I mean,
yeah, he's all right. He's all right. Más o menos.
So I just feel really fortunate, man. I have great musicians on stage with me that are leaders in their own right. Everyone in the band could lead their own band if they wanted to. And I'm very fortunate to have Chris backing me up, and very fortunate to have Aqualand Records. We're shooting videos, we're playing shows, we're doing all kinds of cool stuff.
That's what I was saying. Is that what you're focusing on right now with that?
Yeah. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm pretty sure Mike also Mike's always got other cool stuff happening, but right now I'm pretty sure this is
this is really what I'm right now. After Candiria went away for a while, like at the time that I filled in for you, that was my thing. I was bass player for hire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If an opportunity came out, that's exactly what I did. But now in the past couple of years, I have a soon to be 7-year-old son.
Good.
Really
Hell yeah.
To like spread myself too thin. My main objective right now is to take care and raise my son, and also help John out with his music, because as I said, I don't want to spread myself too thin, and I like the music, what I call that he's playing, you know what I mean, that he's writing, you know what I mean. So I'm not looking to do anything. I'm not looking to be in 4 bands at one time anymore.
I got you.
I had different opportunities in the past year or two. I've turned down a couple of things that other people be like, well, maybe you shouldn't have turned that down. I'm like, nah, but you know what? It just depends on what you want out of life, right?
Sure, absolutely.
I could take that opportunity, and that's a nice payday, but in the same regard, that's going to mean that I'm on the road away from my family.
Enough said. You don't got to say, if it has anything to do with your kid or your family, there's no price that you could put on it that can make. I don't care how good the check is, unless your child's in the gutter and has no food.
Different
that's
story.
it, and you go. Exactly. Otherwise, there's no price you could put. If you're happy, and what it seems by what you're saying is, you're at a spot right now where you could do both. And
that's what I'm saying. It's if you don't split, like in the past, I've been used to being in like 4 or 5 bands at a clip, but with no kid and a wife who knew this about me from the jump off, then you know what I mean. It's like I can go out there and get lost, and no one sees me for 6 months, and it is what it is. But that's not how I'm raising my son. Not, you know what I mean. I look at it as like I did not have a father presence in my life, so it's gonna be damned if I'm gonna be some absentee father. Right?
Good for you. I mean? Absolutely.
That is not gonna happen.
That's fucking very important. I salute you for that, because that's very important, especially nowadays, and especially you saying that, especially coming from somebody who didn't have their father around. I was lucky. I got my father still around. I had my mother, rest in peace, but I come from a good family. I also know that 9 out of 10 of our friends didn't have that.
Yeah,
so I know how lucky I was. So when I hear people breaking the chain, like they say, like what you're doing, and by the way you're saying it, I know how real you are when you're like, that's how it should be.
Yeah, straight up. There's
important.
There's no debate with a call.
Absolutely. Exactly. And Candiria, so no Candiria, no more, no más,
right?
A little something, maybe later.
Look, I don't know. We try, man. It's hard. Ken's on the West Coast. Carly is. He works. He works full time. He works on his own music, and it's Candiria isn't the type of thing where you can just pick it up. Like, If we don't have, like, it took us how long to get. Ken wasn't in the band the last rendition of Candiria.
Yeah.
We had his new guy Dan. It took him a year just to get in shape.
Absolutely. Good luck. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You get a drum machine. The only way you got is a drum machine.
It was a lot of work.
Dan's one of the best metal drummers out there too, and it took him as long as it would take him for him to feel comfortable, and also for us to be like, nah.
It's up to par.
You're right. You ain't ready yet, and now you're ready, and you know what I mean.
So that's a hard shoes to fill.
It really is. It's tremendous shoes to fill. Tremendous.
And with Candiria having the reputation we had, you can't come out and do it halfway. It has to be right. Yeah. It has to be right. And until it was right, we couldn't do it. So now, Dan, we did a bunch of touring. We did Warped Tour in 2017. We went to Europe. We did a one-off in Europe. We did 2 tours in the US. They were okay. They were mixed, But then when we got home from Warped Tour, and shortly after that, I think after one of the tours we did in 2018, Dan got married. He had a kid. Our guitar player Julio had a kid.
Married, had a kid.
You know, we weren't making any money on the road. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So we came home and these guys are like, look, we want to start a family. So, you know, Dan wound up getting a full-time job. Julio started working. So, you know, that was that. And you know, it ain't gonna be right. Like at this point in my life, if Carly's not in the band or if Ken's not in the band, one or the other.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Me,
I know you mean.
Those are the two, to me, like those are the guys that were irreplaceable. And we did replace Ken. We got lucky with that. But you know, like without one of them at this point, I'm not interested personally.
Yeah.
I have no interest.
I hear you.
I like the idea of putting out like music, you know, whatever. We have like a whole bunch of stuff laying around. I would work on songs, but I'm not in any way, shape, or form looking to get in a room and rehearse again, to get ready to go play shows, just to break up again.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Yeah. Like I'm in the same boat. Like I won't invest in nothing unless I'm gonna see it grow. Like I was telling my boy that the other day, I was like, you know, there's some people that just want to bust the nut and leave. I go, I want to bust the nut and raise that kid. And I mean that with music, you know what I mean? Like I want to see it grow up. I want to see it get big. I want to see it prosper. I want to invest in it. I want to build it. I want to, you know, mold it. You know, or else I won't fuck with it, you know, basically, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, but definitely makes sense. One thing I think that me and John both have come to terms with too is that we'll never say never when it comes to Candiria. Because you never know what's going to happen.
I learned that too.
Because even the last time that we got together to, you know, play the Black and Blue Bowl in 2015, and then we got a record contract with, you know, with Metal Blade Records. This wasn't some like, you know, some small, you know, we're talking about like one of the premier metal labels came to us and said, yo, if Candiria is getting back together, we want to be in the Candiria business. Technically right now too, Candiria is inactive for the past couple of years, but we still have a recording contract with Metal Blade. If we have a new record to put out, Metal Blade's going to put it out. That's a pretty nice position to be in.
Definitely.
You have a lot worse problems than, you know,
I might have to start working on. How you do that? Like I can't even. This is a Candiria hand. You need like a fucking forget that. I got two thumbs.
One of these, right?
Yeah, that's Candiria. I play like Madball songs like this. You can play with your thumbs and shit.
Yeah, no, one of the tightest bands out there, though. One of the best bands ever. Man.
Trying, you know. Again, we take from the shredders and we learn. You know, we don't got 100 fingers, but we got elbows that work like a motherfucker.
They work, man. They work.
No, absolutely. You look at this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I forget what the term is. You may know it or may not, right? But there's a particular term in the Japanese language where they talk about taking one thing and being a master.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I know what you mean.
Noodles or this or that, and you become a master of it. So now I love when I see things like that. Like, what's better to you?
For sure.
I personally think that if I walk into a restaurant, say it's a diner, sometimes that's nice because you open up and you're like, my God, this is a 25-page menu. I could eat anything I possibly want. But where do you have like the greatest meals? When you walk into that little small cafe, then you got 5 things on the menu and you taste it and you're like, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. And to me, that's what Madball is.
Thank you.
Madball is not this thing where you're going to go in there and say, oh, I don't know, John wants pancakes. I want French onion soup. You know, Hoya wants what to call this. You know what I'm saying? It's like this. Everybody comes in and says, no, we're going to give you the Madball souffle. And you are going to taste this and you are going to love this. And
thank you for sure. No, again, that's what we do. Like, I think every band, that's like a good little something for every band out there. It's like, work with what you got. Don't try to be who you're not.
Absolutely.
And be the best. As corny as it sounds, it's a fact. Be the best version of yourselves.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You could lie for so long. You know, there's no perfect liars because humans aren't made perfect.
Right.
We would be godlike, and none of us are gods. I hate to break it to all you guys out there who think, but no, definitely, I'm glad. No, but I'm definitely glad I was able to catch up with you guys. I think it was important for me personally. Besides being friends, and we had history, like I just talked, and I think also just in the hardcore scene, the way you guys fell in, where I think it's an important place, and also it was a cool dynamic to fucking the scene. And again, let everybody know where they can hear the new band, the Instagram or whatever, because we got people listening from all over the planet. The Smokin' Word is in the building.
That's it.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been listening for a while. Since you put this back on,
Yeah.
I've been a pretty
Thank
loyal
you.
listener, man.
Thank you.
One of my favorite.
I got a lot. Thank you. I got a lot in store. I got a lot more, and
great.
I got some really good bangers coming on. But I'm lucky. A lot of our listeners, literally from all over the planet. Like I can't say one spot. So shout out to all the listeners out there. But let them know where they could check out the new band.
Let them know about all this stuff.
You could check out LaMacchia at LaMacchia Music on Instagram. It's LaMacchia Music. The new album's coming out. It's called Thunderheads. It's coming out May 20th on Aqualam Records. You could just find me on Instagram, man. You can find this guy, Michael MacIvor, of course.
Yeah, I'm out there.
Look us up, man. We're doing our thing, man. I'm so appreciative for you to have us on, man. It's really
I'm glad again. I'm happy to see you too. It was good to see you guys. It's been a minute. And also, and I got before we get out of here, I got a promotional thing for you, a LaMacchia with oat milk. So when you drop the record, you get a little LaMacchia oat milk. Just saying, that one's on the house. The other ones are gonna cost you. But everybody, shout out to you guys. Check them out, LaMacchia, fucking Candiria. Check them out on Instagram. Yo, one love, fellas. I'll let you know when it drops. I'll send you guys the info, and we'll talk soon, fellas.
Thank you so much, man.
You know what's up, fellas. One love, and we out.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you.